Hello beta, good morning everyone. Beta, welcome to day 8 where we will go ahead and prepare for 4 exams together. DEPR, Indian Economic Service, IAS Economics Optional and UGC Net Economics. Beta, I will be meeting you every day from Monday to Friday at 10:30 AM and we will prepare for these 4 exams together. ये चारों एग्जाम हम साथ में क्यों ले रहे हैं? क्योंकि ये चारों एग्जाम्स ही एक दूसरे के साथ बहुत ज्यादा इंटरलिंक्ड हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ सिलेबस. सो व्हेनेवर यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर दीज काइंड ऑफ एंट्रेंस एग्जाम, आपको हमेशा क्या करना चाहिए ना, दिस इज व्हाट आई सजेस्ट स्टूडेंट्स टू गो एड एंड डू, एंड दिस इज व्हाट वी आल्सो फॉलो एज पार्ट ऑफ our as part of our curriculum. क्या कर सकते हो? You can go ahead and you can write DPR, IES, IAS, NET, कॉमन. तो कॉमन का मतलब ये हो जाता है कि इन चारों पेपर्स में वॉट एवर कॉमन थिंग्स यू फाइंड, राइट, वॉट एवर इज द म्यूचुअली इंक्लूसिव सेट, whatever is the commonality between all four of these exams, वो चारों एग्जाम्स के बीच के कॉमन टॉपिक्स आपने लिख लिए. Like all of these exams will talk about utility analysis, cardinal and ordinal approach. In चारों ही एग्जाम्स में there will be some part of the development theories. In चारों ही एग्जाम्स में there will be some part of the Indian economy. तो whatever is the common part, first of all, you should go ahead and write that down कि इन चारों एग्जाम्स में कॉमन क्या है, because if I am appearing, I will very well appear for all four of these exams. वो लिखने के बाद then you should be thinking about the additional part. तो additional में आपने यहाँ लिखा DEPR, then you will write Indian Economic Service, then you will write IAS Economics Optional, and then you will be writing UGC Net Economics, right? So you will go ahead and you will be writing all 4 of these, right? And under all 4 of this, you will be going ahead and writing the topics that are asked only in these exams, जो सिर्फ इनमें आते हैं और common topics में नहीं आ रहे हैं. So that when you are preparing for that particular exam, जब वो exam एकदम सर पे है और वो exam आने वाला है, you will go ahead and read these topics along with the common topics. Clear? Okay beta, I also always tell students, बहुत essential है that you go ahead and subscribe to our channel and you like these videos so that we are encouraged to make more of these videos in the future. Subscription इसलिए जरूरी है, there is no fee. Unlike other channels, there is no membership fee that we are taking. एकदम free of cost subscription है, but at least the subscription helps you know the daily videos that we are posting, and बहुत useful videos होती हैं ये. So they're going to help you in your preparation of various exams, right? And even if you go for research someday, तो आपको वहाँ पे भी ये काफी useful रहेगा. At the same time, please join our LinkedIn, channel also, LinkedIn page also, and Telegram group also. And now we will move on to today's lecture, and the topic for today's lecture is going to be demand analysis, and this is going to be a past year question of IAS Economics Optional, right? Okay beta, let's start. So beta, today we are going to take another question that came in UPSC IAS Economics Optional paper. Okay, let's see the question. It says, show that ordinary demand curve just give me a minute. Okay, show that ordinary demand curve will have a greater demand elasticity than compensated demand curve. Okay, so beta, which chapter is this from? This is from our Slutsky equation, right beta? Acha. Now, what is an ordinary demand curve? An ordinary demand curve is that curve which includes two effects. But कौन से effect होते हैं ordinary demand curve में? Substitution effect and income effect. Whereas a compensated demand curve is that curve which only includes one effect. कौन सा effect include करता है बेटा वो? Substitution effect. तो जो एक ऑर्डिनरी डिमांड कर्व होता है वो प्राइस चेंज की वजह से दो इफेक्ट्स को डिपिक्ट करता है. इट शोज टू इफेक्ट्स. वन इज अ सब्स्टिट्यूशन इफेक्ट, वन इज एन इनकम इफेक्ट. जबकि जो कॉम्पेंसेटेड डिमांड कर्व होता है इट ओनली शोज वन इफेक्ट व्हिच इज नथिंग बट द substitution effect. तो वहीं से actually just by that statement you should be able to guess the answer to this question, that one is showing two effects, the other one is showing only one effect, so automatically we know that one has to have greater elasticity than the other. Okay beta, let's start by seeing what I have written here. Okay, try and see. I am saying that the ordinary demand curve, which is called the Marshallian demand curve, ये बात clear होनी चाहिए कि जो ordinary demand curve होता है ना उसको क्या बोलते हैं? Marshallian demand curve. One second, हाँ. Okay. So we should be clear that the ordinary demand curve, it is called as the Marshallian demand curve, or compensated. What is that called? Hixian demand, है ना? So बेटा the ordinary demand curve, which is called the Marshallian demand curve, it illustrates movement along a given demand curve, summarizing. ध्यान से देखनी है बात. Total quantity of good demanded at each possible price. तो ये बेसिकली एक यूजुअल डिमांड कर्व है. ऑर्डिनरी मतलब यूजुअल, और जो भी एक यूजुअल डिमांड कर्व होता है, whichever is a usual demand curve, but it shows how your quantity will be changed when price changes. It takes into consideration the total effect, है ना. पूरे इफेक्ट के साथ वो बताता है कि अगर प्राइस चेंज होगा तो क्वांटिटी कैसे अफेक्ट होगी, हाउ द क्वांटिटी वुड बी अफेक्टेड व्हेन द प्राइस चेंजेस. राइट बेटा, सो वी आर डूइंग एग्जैक्टली दैट. इट इलस्ट्रेट्स योर टोटल क्वांटिटी ऑफ गुड डिमांडेड एट ईच पॉसिबल प्राइस. क्लियर हुई ये बात? ओके बेटा, सी हियर. Changes in price induce both substitution and income effect that prompt movement along the curve. I have explained you this, that whenever I talk about ordinary demand curve will include both. Both मतलब क्या? It will include income effect also. It will include substitution effect also. Okay beta, come ahead. Now let's talk about the compensated demand curve. तो बेटा compensated demand curve क्या होता है? It only goes ahead and it shows movement along the substitution effect part, right? So this is exactly what I have written. Try to read this. Compensated demand curve illustrates movements along given indifference curve for alternative prices. They are continued by holding utility constant. So when you hold utility constant, you are moving along the same indifference curve. When you move along the same indifference curve, it shows only the substitution effect. समझे बात को? तो ध्यान से, it exhibits only the substitution effect. तो बेटा पहला पार्ट तो मैंने यही क्लियर कर दिया कि एक compensated demand curve और एक ordinary demand curve कैसे differentiated है, कैसे वो दोनों अलग हैं. We have clearly defined the difference between an ordinary demand curve and a compensated demand curve. Should we move ahead? Okay. See further. Now I am using a little mathematical approach. You may or may not use that approach. मतलब इसके बिना graphical approach से भी ये question proof हो सकता है. It's a 5-mark question. If required, if you are well comfortable with the mathematical approach, only then you should be going for the mathematical approach. Clear हुई बात? अच्छा देखो ध्यान से. See, I am saying that this is how x changes as p changes, and how x changes as p changes can be so this is my equation, Slutsky equation, है ना बेटा? And Slutsky equation में this xc बेटा it represents compensated demand, right बेटा? तो ये हो गया compensated demand. बेटा this is how x changes as p changes, total demand. And better this is how x changes as expenditure changes, and how expenditure changes as p changes. This is nothing but your income effect. Right, beta? You can go back to the book Snyder to verify these equations. So ये basic sluts के equations है. Nothing to explain. We are trying to show that I can go ahead and say that the total effect is substitution plus income, or I can inversely say that substitution effect is total minus income. So I am trying to do a similar thing here. Achha, now if I use Shepard's lemma, we know that how expenditure changes as price changes can be written as X. So I've just gone ahead and written X here. But now I am just trying to convert. Achha, one more thing, expenditure and price are income are the same, है ना? जितना खर्चा करोगे that has to be from your income. So expenditure and income are the same. So instead of expenditure here, I have written income here. ये भी clear हो गया? Another thing is that this X that I have got here, I have divided throughout by X on both sides. तो यहाँ पे भी I have divided it by X, divide by X and divide by X. So this side I am just left up with this. यहाँ पे I will have 1 by X del X by del PX, and यहाँ पे I will have 1 by X del X C by del PX. Okay, beta, let's continue this. Okay, let me just remove this part. So now just think that now I have to somehow convert this in terms of elasticity. क्यों बेटा? Elasticity में convert करना इसलिए जरूरी है because I want to go ahead and I want to prove what is asked to me in the question, and they are asking me that what is the elasticity of compensated and what is the elasticity of ordinary. So somehow I need to go ahead and I need to prove that. So I need to convert these in terms of elasticity. So in order to convert this in terms of elasticity, what I have done is I have multiplied throughout by px. So when I go ahead and I multiply by px here and px here, better see that this is the elasticity formula. Better this is also the elasticity formula. ठीक है? और यहाँ पे px को I will keep as it is, and now what I will do is I will just multiply by x throughout and I will multiply by I throughout. So if you notice, then I will get this part. This part. This is nothing but how x changes as I changes into I by x. ये हो गई income elasticity. And the remaining part that you will be left up will be px by x into px into x by I. तो बेटा ये तो हो गया share of your income that you are spending on good x, and this is coming here. So a little manipulative. I understand this is a little mathematical, but this is how you can prove through maths. So what we have done is we have just tried to derive elasticity from here. So if you see the first part, बेटा this is the formula of elasticity. This is elasticity. इसमें थोड़ी सी manipulation करके I am getting this part. So what I have proved is that the ordinary demand curve, it has two components in it. ये ordinary demand curve की elasticity थी ना? I am taking this here. So the ordinary demand curve, it has two components attached to it. One is the compensated demand curve का elasticity, and the other is the elasticity of income multiplied by the share. So your final formula will be this. This is important. Even if you don't remember the derivation, but you can remember the elasticity formula, it works fine. It's just a 5 marks question. तो यहाँ पे समझो कि this is the elasticity, ordinary demand elasticity, this is compensated demand elasticity, and something is getting subtracted from it, है ना बेटा? Okay, so now we have proved this, that because something is getting subtracted from it, right? So when I have to find out the elasticity of ordinary demand, it is compensated minus something. So I can revisit my question once and I can see that It says show that ordinary demand curve will have greater elasticity than compensated demand curve. So I have shown that. कैसे बेटा? ध्यान से समझना एक बारी. So if I just go back and I visit here, you have to remember that the income effects are when I talk about the income effects, right? They depend on which kind of good I talk about. But better when I talk about the substitution effect is always negative. We know that. So when price increases, demand decreases. Substitution effect is always negative. तो बेटा ये negative हो गया. Income effect will be positive if it is a normal good. So this will be positive, but it is getting multiplied with a negative sign, so it is negative. So ध्यान से देखो. Suppose I tell you that let's say this is, suppose compensated वाले की elasticity is say -2. Suppose share of your income is 1 and ये वाला जो elasticity आया income का, so this is 2. So बेटा what will you get? -2 माने -4. So the ordinary demand elasticity will come as -4. Absolute values में 4 and compensated में absolute will be 2. So isn't that greater? It is na. So we have proved that ordinary is greater than compensated. So this is a mathematical approach. I don't expect all of you to know this. If you know this very well, if you don't, तो सिर्फ graphical approach से भी show कर सकते हैं. So this is the graphical approach to it. So I just want to show this also once. ध्यान से देखना हाँ. Let me just zoom this diagram and let's focus on this. So try to see this better. See, point E to E double dash. This shows my price effect. So देखो ध्यान से. I will label it out बेटा. A B. AB is my initial budget line. A B dash is my final budget line. Huh? But the price of good X is decreasing. So because price of good X has decreased, you have moved from AB to AB dash. Clear हुई बात? अच्छा, AB पर my equilibrium is point E. This is tangency. Huh? AB dash पे my equilibrium is this. So E to E dash is showing me the total effect. If I just take this total effect down, I will get that I increased my demand from X to X double dash. The price has decreased by this much. So ये point हो गया. This point is point E. ये वाला point हाँ. एक price के लिए. And when the price decreased, I moved to point E double dash. Right बेटा? I join these 2 points and I get ordinary demand curve. Notice that this is flatter. But a flat demand curve means more elastic demand curve. So it is more elastic. If I have to now divide this in substitution and income effect, what will substitution effect show me? I have to move along the same indifference curve, holding utility constant. Because X is relatively cheaper, I should increase the demand of X and decrease the demand of Y. So, but I will move from E to E dash. I am holding utility constant, same IC पर हूँ. I am increasing the demand of good X. तो ध्यान से देखो, when I move from E to E dash, but price change same ही हुआ है. E to E dash leads to only some part of increase in X, है ना? So I move from E to E dash. If I join these 2 points, I get this demand curve. This is called compensated. तो compensated सिर्फ और सिर्फ मेरे को substitution effect show कर रहा है. Just try to notice this. बेटा X to X dash, that is substitution effect. X dash to X double dash, that is income effect. X to X double dash is price effect. So when I talk about ordinary demand, उसने X से X double dash पूरा price effect दिखाया. So it became flatter. But when I talk about X to X dash, that is my substitution effect, na beta? So this is steeper. So try to see that a steeper demand curve automatically means that you have less elasticity. So again, diagrammatically also I have proved that compensated demand curves have less elasticity as compared to ordinary demand curve. तो ये बेटा ये लाइंस इंपॉर्टेंट है, रीड कर लेते हैं. The ordinary demand curve is more flatter than the compensated demand curve due to the fact that it shows total effect instead of substitution effect, and therefore its elasticity is more as compared to the compensated demand curve. But even if you go ahead and only show the diagrammatic approach, it is fine. Okay, beta, thank you so much. We will meet again for next session in the next class.